targets into very concrete projects. This is why under Brazil's COP leadership, this forum will focus on flagship initiatives, for example, projects that bring power to underserved communities, or projects that jumpstart new clean industries and scale up clean energy globally. So with that, we can learn from each other, we can exchange best practices and have progress in concrete projects so it really changes the life of people on the ground. And finally, the Global Energy Transition Forum should help to unlock more investment. If we want to be faster, we need more investment. And I'm very glad that the UK is leading this change. Together, we will champion smarter financing with de-risking tools, blended finance, other solutions to lower costs, and attract private capital. We can also learn from African governments who are introducing tax breaks, public-private partnership, renewable energy incentives. And we see already that these efforts are bearing fruit. Because in the last 2 years, clean energy investments in Africa nearly doubled already. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Global Energy Transition Forum is all about connecting the dots, about making sure that governments, companies, investors find each other, as they do today here. In these times of harsh geostrategic competition, predictability, certainty, and reliability matters. I want to be very clear with my message. Europe stays the course, and we stand ready to work with all global actors to accelerate the transition to clean energy. Thank you very much.
Madam President, thank you so much for your opening remarks. I would like to now give the floor to President of Peru, Madam Boluarte.
Señora Presidenta de la Comisión Europea, doctora Ursula von der Leyen, distinguidas altas autoridades de países.
Distinguished President of the European Commission, Mrs. Ursula von der Leyen, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen.
Y representantes del sector privado, señoras y señores.
Dear representatives of the private sector, ladies and gentlemen.
La transición energética.
The energy transition is an urgent and global imperative that aims to mitigate the effects of climate change and to guarantee energy security. Since our greenhouse emissions have produced climate change, we have realized that those emissions come from the use of different energies. Around 3/4 of global emissions are generated because of several circumstances. For example, the use of energy for the development of our lives, such as heating. Here in Davos, we are inside, we are indoors, and we need heating because the temperature outside is very, very low. Or maybe the other way around. There are some places on the planet that are very, very warm, very hot, such as Lima. We are now experiencing summer, so we need to use energies for the cooling systems. So, apart from the use of fossil fuel, we have had different problems that we needed to face. The climate change is the main threat that we are confronting ourselves as humankind, and Peru has suffered the consequences, such as last year we have suffered floods and fires, forest fires, because we are very vulnerable as a country to the effects of climate change. Let me give you an important information. We ourselves as planets, we do have already the higher temperature that we are supposed to.
We committed ourselves with the Paris agreements in order to keep on working on a global level. And I hope as time passes, we'll be able to achieve that 1.5 degrees temperature increase for our planet. And we need to apply specific actions that will help us revert this trend in the increasing temperatures, something that we are suffering from more and more. We're all suffering from this. We see that the climate is changing. The whole climate system is changing. In Peru, in spite of the fact that our greenhouse effect emissions are less than 1%, we have instruments and regulations that will allow us move towards cleaner sources of energy with less greenhouse effect emissions that will be less polluting. We're a country with a great energy potential. I'm referring to renewables, things like solar energy, wind energy sources, and energy transition is an opportunity in order to diversify our sources of energy and to reduce our dependence on fossil fuel inputs. We've national policy in place for energy efficiency from here till 2040. And through these policies, we want to ensure energy for our population, but these energy sources must be as clean as possible, making use of the potential in our country regarding wind farms that are known as parks with windmills, as we call them, spaces where we can make use of solar energy and biomass. In 2024, the energy production with renewables energies amounted to 12.8% in clean energy, and we hope that thanks to the modifications in regulations that the country has been implementing, we will make sure that the mitigation measures on a national level and with the commitment made by Peru regarding multiplying renewable energies by 3, we hope that we'll be able to promote greater participation of these energy sources in order to achieve the decarbonization objectives of our economy. In the same way, I can tell you that we have recently approved a national strategy against climate change from here till 2050. It's a strategy that seeks to achieve carbon neutrality in order to mitigate the greenhouse effect emissions and thus reduce them in our transport systems through the use of electrical vehicles and hybrid vehicles that will use less polluting fuels, because the idea is to make use of renewable energies up to 40%. This is why we'd like to invite investors to come to our country in order to invest in clean sources of energy, in order to be more sustainable, and in order to preserve all our beautiful natural resources. Peru is aware of the opportunities and challenges brought about by energy transition, and so we are working in collaboration with other countries in Latin America and other social partners in order to bring the necessary investments and to speed up the development of renewables and energy efficiency. In the framework of the Pacific Alliance, together with Mexico, Chile, and Colombia, Peru is promoting regional integration and the cooperation in different areas, including energy, through this alliance I have just mentioned that seeks to promote investments in clean energy projects, facilitating energy transfer and to ensure an energy transition that will be just, that will be fair, that will respect our national priorities. Peru is committed to energy transition, and it is collaborating actively with international actors in order to achieve this objective within this framework. The Global Forum on Energy Transition is presented as the right platform in order to strengthen these collaborations and to facilitate know-how exchange and to attract investments and to speed up the implementation of different international climate agreements. Peru is a country that has many natural resources. 60% of our territory is made up by woodlands, and 20% is made up by natural protected areas. And we're also a very diversified country, but we're also a country with important mineral resources. We take up the first positions in the production of copper, silver, and zinc, and we have important sources for the generation of wind energy and hydroelectric energy. That is to say, we are a country with abundant natural sources of energy that favor energy transition. And this is a process that we are committed to because we want to leave out classical fossil fuels and move towards less contaminating sources such as wind energy and solar energy. We have wind farms in Peru, many, and I'm sure that making sure of all our assets will be contributing to a better world for humanity. In Peru, our environmental framework is being optimized. Environmental permits are promoting the use of clean energies, and things are being sped up in order to achieve sustainable projects that will move towards carbon neutrality. So we are laying the basis in order to go from exporting minerals to becoming a country that will be transforming its resources into elements that will be indispensable for energy transition. Things like lithium batteries and electronic components that will lead towards cleaner energies, but also in order to improve and palliate poverty. Peru is the second country with the greatest production of copper in the world. It's a mineral. Copper is a mineral that is important for this transition towards clean energies. We have gold, we have silver, we have zinc, we have lithium. And we're just inviting investors. We're inviting investors who may wish to come to Peru so that we'll work jointly and with an outlook to the future. And making use of minerals, but not only this, the idea is to be more responsible. Each one of us in order to start using clean energies and to protect our only home. And I'm speaking to our planet. And this is where we have the only and most important species, the human species. This is why it is important for all of us to make an effort and make a contribution from every single country so that we'll be able to make an urgent change and go from fossil energies to clean energies. I think that we and future generations, our children, our grandchildren, humankind, will thank us for this if we get moving. Those of us who are leading countries, those of us who are leading companies, those of us who are leading organizations, those of us who are concerned and who want to change and move to cleaner sources of energies. And I know that they will be thankful for this because we only have one home, and that is planet Earth. Thank you very much.
Madam President, thank you so much for setting the stage. Let me now move to the discussion. Let me first introduce the panel. Minister Masudi, Minister of State for Environment of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Please welcome.
Merci.
Dr. Fatih Birol, Executive Director at the International Energy Agency. Welcome. Mr. Gurdeep Singh, Chairman and Managing Director, NTPC India.
Thank you.
Lars Sorensen, Chairman of the Board of Directors, Novo Nordisk Foundation. And Mr. Virot, Chief Executive Officer, ABB. Let me start with you, Dr. Birol. Where are we with the energy transition? How can we move faster? And what is the role of this new initiative?
So first of all, may I thank World Economic Forum for organizing this event, joining Madam President von der Leyen. And Madam President, thank you very much once again to announce this forum, the new initiative. This is so timely to accelerate our transition. Now, dear colleagues, in COP28, we had this global target, which is really a big achievement to have the target. And again, kudos to Madam President for being a leader among others with the Emirates and the others to push this target. We have a tripling of renewable capacity and doubling energy efficiency. I will tell you where we are now after 2 years. In fact, the news is not so bad. For renewables, we said tripling between now and 2030. And our current estimate is with the projects which have their FIDs, we are going to see 2.7 times. Not 3 times, but a 2.7 times increase of renewables, which is not bad, and we can even accelerate this and come to that level. Second, in terms of energy efficiency, this is the problem, because doubling meaning, doubling from what? So global energy efficiency was about 2% per year increase. Doubling would have meant 4% efficiency improvement each year, but 2024, global energy efficiency improvement was even below the historical average. It was 1%. So this is a problematic area. So this is where we are. And if you ask me, there are many challenges in front of the clean energy transition globally. Many of them, if I have to pick up one of them, and I'm a man who makes his hands dirty with data, I can tell you the fault line is the following. Madam President said we have today $2 trillion clean energy investments. And 10 years ago, it was 1 trillion. Big growth from 1 trillion to 2 trillion. What is the problem? Of this 2 trillion, 85% of this clean energy investment take place in the advanced economies in China. 15% takes place in the countries where you have the 60% of global population. I don't know if I gave too many numbers, but so 15% of the clean energy investments are happening in the 60% of global population, which is Africa, Latin America, Asia, and so on. So how are we going to make sure that the clean energy investments and the projects in these countries are going to meet? This is the fault line of, for me, the biggest problem. And within those three regions, they are all challenging, but Africa is the main problem, main challenge today. Africa, even though Africa has only 2.5% of the global emissions responsibility, has a big problem. And I can tell you, as I mentioned the other day, in all this data, which breaks my heart, all this energy data is the following. Global solar is today the cheapest electricity generation in the world. Wherever you go, 90% of the world, solar generation is the cheapest. And Africa, we have about 60% of the good quality solar energy. And yet, amount of solar electricity we generate in entire sub-Saharan Africa is less than electricity from solar we produce in Netherlands. So think of the map. The sub-Saharan Africa and Netherlands is a bit small. I'm sorry, Mr. Minister, a bit small compared to sub-Saharan Africa, and not as sunny as the Africa as well. So this is the issue of the financing. And therefore, again, another initiative that you announced today, Madam President, together with President Ramaphosa, the renewable energy in Africa is an excellent one. And we have G20 this year. The South Africa is leading. We have the Mr. Minister. Mr. Minister, this, I believe, based on our discussion, this is one of the key topics that you are going to tackle in the context of G20. And I believe this is the main problem. If I make two last points. In Davos, everywhere, I am sure people like me who work on energy gets a lot of question. What is more important? Energy security or energy transition? Which one we should do the priority? I deny to answer this question. It is an annoying question because we can do both of them. With well-designed energy transition policies, we can have the best energy security. And with a well-designed energy transition policies, we can bring the prices down. We can bring prosperity to the people, and we can create jobs. And this has been done. This will be done. So therefore, to antagonize these two important objectives for the human being today is, in my view, misleading. We can do both. We have been doing many, many things like that before as the world, and this is critical. And my last point is that while we go to the clean energy transition, we are going to use a lot of so-called critical minerals. It is the lithium, it is the copper, it is many other critical minerals, and it is, I hope, that the countries here like Peru, copper is the lifeblood of the electrification of the future. We need a lot of copper for the electrification. We need lithium. So therefore, the more they are distributed around the world, the more these countries are not only mining, but also refining at home, processing at home and sell it much more expensive rather than just a raw material, which is a lazy way to do it, is very good for their economies, for the diversification of these sources, and for all of us. Just wanted to make this point as well.
Thank you so much for setting the stage further. I'd like to now go to Mr. Sorensen at the Novo Nordisk Foundation. The company is more known in the medical sector, but the foundation is now, I understand, expanding its focus also on the clean energy sector. Tell us more.
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks for the invitation. I'm not a philanthropist. I'm a capitalist, but with a long time perspective. I come from the industrial sector, and hence our view is very much influenced by the fact that we view things from a practical perspective. I'll be short in consideration of time. I'll just tell you what we are engaged in. It is primarily from a European perspective, but I believe that the solutions and the initiatives that will come out of our activities will have global implications. First, we are trying to develop biologic processes which can convert CO2 captured from point sources to different kinds of usable raw materials, for instance, fermentation media, which means that we can reduce the amount of sugar and the amount of agriculture that goes into fermentation, and hence we get a double positive effect. Such applications will, of course, also be useful anywhere in the world. We take a very strong interest in nuclear. We believe we will not be able to resolve the challenge that we have without expansion of nuclear. And in particular, we are looking at small modular reactors as an opportunity to expand capacity, but with the distributed location together with industrial clusters. We are willing to participate in testing and commissioning of such new reactors to demonstrate to the world that they are feasible. We also take an interest and are starting to invest in fusion. We believe, actually, if we can believe our American colleagues, that the timeline is shorter than we think before it might prove its case, and therefore maybe in 10, 15 years prove an alternative. We're investing in supercomputing, artificial intelligence, machine learning to simulate energy systems, to ensure that we can analyze and implement energy efficiencies in housing, in industry. We can improve productivity in industry, and we can improve productivity of the public sector. And finally, we're trying to build a quantum computer, which is based on life science algorithms, will be able to make breakthroughs in the world. For instance, learn how nitrogen is fixated from the air, that the plants can do it. We should be able to do it. And hence we can manufacture fertilizers in a much, much more harmless way than it is currently being done. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Moving to Mr. Singh and TPC. India is growing fast. There's also large clean energy ambitions. What is the role of your company in all that?
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for inviting me here. As all of you will be knowing that India has taken a lead role for the transition, and it is one of the largest economy and the fastest growing economy which has really come up to the Paris Agreement, and in fact we have revised upward. The government has announced, our Honorable Prime Minister has announced about 500 gigawatt going up to 2032. As far as NTPC is concerned, we are the largest power generating company, supplying 25% of the total electricity. In just a second, I can tell you that this population, what we are feeding is around 350 million people, which is the entire Europe on that size. And as a company, we are quite committed for the growth of the renewable and the fastest growth of the renewable. So we had a target of 60 gigawatt of the renewable energy by 2032. As of now, we have 4.5 gigawatt of the solar plus wind, which is commissioned, and 14 gigawatt is under construction. Along with that, it's not only this solar plus wind, but also we are now entering into the nuclear. And as was mentioned, both whether it's going to be SMR or whether it's going to be the conventional one. And the another one is that we are also working for the circular economy, which is doing the carbon capture and utilizing the green hydrogen. The Government of India has come out with a very ambitious plan of the green hydrogen mission, and we are working now on the producing the green hydrogen through the solar power because we have a very good potential on that, and that will be going in a long way to reduce the carbon footprint on that. Overall, our suggestion, Jaina, from particularly from my side, will be that one of the key factor is that what Fatih just mentioned, and Fatih has been tremendous, terrific on this all data and the kind of analysis, and then pushing forward that what should be doing. I think the single point is that how we can have the low-cost, long-term financing, which can really help both underdeveloped as well as the developing economy to accelerate this transition. I think that will be kind of the equitable for the whole humanity rather than only for one country. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll move to Mr. Birol.
Muchas gracias. Vamos a...
company, but active across emerging markets. How can we scale private investments in clean energy in some of these markets, from your experience?
Yeah, I think here it's important. We talked about this, if I've made mention here already, about the security versus the energy transition. I think kind of you have to first get the energy security because to get society up and running, and that's what we've seen. So we are helping industries in those new economies getting stable and reliable power, because that's when also investors are willing to put in capital so that you can grow growth and industry. So helping that stable energy grid, but then I fully agree that the next step need to be that energy transition when so kind of to skip one level and jump straight with all the additions that are needed in the future that goes into renewable energies. And I think but for us, I would also say on a global scale, we are part of also the CO Alliance group, where we're looking at many companies are able to reduce their energy emissions or the CO2 emissions at the same time while growing the revenue. And I think that's an important part. So the kind of the energy transition it's a business case, so you can do it while you're running a business because the technology does exist. It is available. And sometimes that's one of my big frustrations, that we don't always use the technology that we have developed over the years, especially in the field of energy efficiency. So there I kind of, and my call and ABB's call also is to help industries to become both leaner, more productive, but also cleaner. And we do that through electrification in a greater scale of using kind of doing this electrification of everything, because that's how you're able to drive efficiency, but is also able to reduce your carbon footprint and operations. And I'm happy to see that, as you say, all the companies part of the alliance are able to do it. So it's more to use that power of innovation that sits in the industry. Financing needs to be there, but I would really try more to, instead of coming with very detailed programs how to fix things, use the power of innovation of the industry, because I believe we also as private companies can help really to drive this energy transition much faster. So that's I hope that's also now been the theme of this event.
Thank you so much. Madam Minister, Minister Masudi, your country is endowed with many sources of clean energy, and you're of course using them already, but how can you turbocharge it for the benefit of your country and also for the benefit of the continent? Over to you.
Oui, merci beaucoup pour cette opportunité. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I'd like to talk about the Democratic Republic of Congo, which I consider as a solution providing country facing all these climatic challenges. We have the potential to rescue mankind. Our forests are absorbing more than 25 gigatons of CO2 production, which we're not responsible for, as was said earlier by the professor. And we have 10% of the sweetwater resources. Our Congo River represents 41,000 cubic meters of flow per second, which means that with the other rivers, we can have 100,000 megawatts of potential. The Dinga Dam supplies 44 megawatts. We also have critical minerals, which allow us to walk towards the energy transition. Now, I'm talking about my country as a potential country and a potential for investments. Holland has a potential for photovoltaic energy that exceeds that of Africa. And photovoltaic energy in Africa means that that's where we need to go. That's where we need to invest. And we have investors in this room. Please, this is an investment opportunity. This would be also an investment with a very large ROI. So it's a great opportunity for investments. In our country, we have the strategies to fight the earth warming, preserving our forests and increasing energy production. We need to decrease the pressure on our forests, the wood from which is also used as energy. We have a national agency agency for energy services in the rural areas, which use hybrid energy, hydroelectric plus photovoltaic energy sources. 14% only of the population in our country have access to energy, but an increasing number of households are turning towards photovoltaic energy sources, and we also want to use the hydroelectric power sources, very powerful, that can be used for mining industry, for instance, where we don't want to use fossil fuels. And electricity for the public grid is based on photovoltaic energy, but we have here big investment opportunities. So I really would like to turn to all the investors, all the businessmen that I just heard, and ask them to come and invest in our country. There is the potential, and it's not enough. I mean, it's all very well to have the potential, provided you have the technology and also the transportation resources, because energy is not something that you produce and then you store it and keep it. You have to ship it or take it somewhere else, and we need investments to provide a chain where energy can be produced locally, but then can be ferried where it's needed. And so we need the technology to transport the energy towards people who are going to consume it. And that's as much as I can say regarding our country, the Democratic Republic of Congo. The way we face the climate-related changes, we are providing nature-based solutions to try and keep the Earth temperature below an increase of 1.5 degrees and zero carbon by 2050 and a carbon-sober economy.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much.
Merci infiniment.
Madam Minister, I would like to thank all the panelists. Clearly, we only scratched the surface. What is important, we had a great announcement here, and there was across this panel a clear ambition to get there, and you can rest assured that also the World Economic Forum will keep working on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.